closed section.
Thanks, President Lather. There is reportable action on item 1.2. In closed session, the board approved a settlement agreement related to that matter by unanimous vote. A copy of that agreement, once executed, will be available upon request. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have no public hearings, so we will move on to the board members' opportunity to remove items from consent agenda. Does anyone want to remove an item? I want to remove item 4.4, the management update. Okay, so that will be at the end of the meeting. So now we're on to, oh, that's right, public comment for the removing of the items.
Oh, no, for
No. Well,
any items not removed on the
right, on the consent agenda, yeah. Sorry about that.
It takes a while to get back into the swing of things.
A little bit of a confusing meeting for me.
Good evening, Becky Steinbrenner. Thank you for pulling item 4.4 from the consent agenda. I found it interesting to review in item 4.7 the status of the water capacity fees, and was very interested to see on page 83 Barry Swenson's contribution for the phase 2 of the Aptos Village project, $1,012,376. I hope they did pay that. I also, item 4.10, it's quite amazing to me to see an EIR addendum in the consent agenda, but I understand that this is a different project than was the Soquel Creek or the Pure Water Soquel. But it's still a big project, and I want to know how was this noticed to, especially to the residents in the area where the construction will happen. I have friends that live there; they weren't aware of it. I think that's all on the consent agenda. I do have comment for item 4.4, but I'll hold them for that discussion. Thank you. Oh, yes, that's on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to comment on the consent agenda? If not, then I can move on
I'll move approval of the consent agenda minus 4.4.
Second.
Training. Okay, we got a
Meeting back.
first and a second. Do we have to do a roll call, or is it a voice vote?
Just voice.
Voice vote's okay.
Okay. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay, so now, oral and written communications. So, do we have anyone from the public that wants to speak about something that's not on the agenda?
Thank you. Becky Steinbrenner. I think that you all will take as much joy as I have in reading the Santa Cruz County Water Resources Management Annual Status Report. Ms. Sierra Ryan from the Santa Cruz County Water Resources Manager recently released a draft of this at the Santa Cruz County Water Advisory Commission meeting on December 4th. That's an excellent report, and I hope that you will go to that commission's website and look at it. It will be coming before the Board of Supervisors in the near future. But what I am very pleased to see in there on page 2, at the top of the page, is that for the second year in a row, county-wide water use has been lower than it was in 1984. Think about that. That's a very good thing. And also another good piece of news is that our neighbors, Central Water District, reduced their consumption by 40%. That's a great piece of good news. We can all use good news. So I urge you to take a look at that report. And it does highlight a lot of the work your district has done. So take a look at it, please. I submitted, a few weeks ago, I submitted to your board a collection of environmental documents regarding the aesthetics of the Pure Water Soquel Advanced Water Treatment Facility. It was about 60 pages, and I felt it was of value because Director Jaffe had asked to create a task force, a subcommittee, to look at how that could be, the aesthetics of that could be improved. And I see that in the change orders later in the agenda tonight, there's a bill for over $12,000 for the landscaping related to that pedestrian overcrossing that came in. The reason I felt it was important for your board to review all of those documents together is because the Pure Water Soquel project has changed a lot, as you know, over the 5 years that it's been in works. But the issue of the aesthetics in that area was never really analyzed. And you can see in the documents that I provided for you, which no one from the district ever responded to, by the way, that the pedestrian bridge was never included in any of the addendums shown to the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any oral communications by board members?
Very briefly, I attended the flood control board meeting today as part of the Board of Supervisors meeting. And while I was there, the board approved a new ordinance. It's a pilot project that regarding for the next year, any type of building or building trades, they will favor unionized workers and also local workers. And there were maybe 100 people that spoke out on it, and then the supervisors approved it. It's for a year, but it's kind of interesting to note that. And just for the flood control, we approved the yearly budget. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so we will move on to reports. District Council, do you have any report?
No report this evening. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're to administrative business. There's no conditional or unconditional will serves. Now we're to 7.2, appointment in lieu of election and oath of office for directors LaHue and Balboni.
So I'll go ahead and tee this one up. Obviously, we're very proud that we had 2 board members that ran uncontested in the fall. So this is a formality item where Josh will be swearing you in. You want to say anything else, Josh?
No, just congratulations. And this is a ceremonial swearing in. You signed the official oath of office at the beginning of the meeting.
Would you guys like to stand over here and we can take some pictures?
Am I supposed to do public comment for this, or?
Yeah, that would be a good practice.
Okay. Is there public comment for this item? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. If that's okay. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations.
That's not easy to do.
Thank you, Josh.
Hope you guys have it so easy.
Sure. Okay, so now we're at 7.3, consider approval of funds from the operating contingency reserve.
And I should,
I'm
I'm going to recuse myself on this because there's a financial interest that I have
Related to your personal finances.
related to my personal finances.
Thank you, Director Jaffe.
Okay, so there's a staff presentation.
Not as well. There, I'll just present the memo to you. Normally, we bring OCR items to you one at a time, but there were 4 items this evening, and it just seemed to be more efficient to bring them to you in a single memo. So we are requesting items from OCR. There are 4 items on the list. The current balance in OCR is $6,697,000. And the cumulative impact of these 4 items, if they're all 4 approved, would be $840,900. So the first item that we're considering for OCR funding is work on the Monterey Avenue main replacement. And the amount that we're requesting there is $417,900. The second item is to finish out work on the country club well. And the amount that we're requesting on that one is $233,000. The fourth one is the legal services that Director Jaffe just referred to, and that would be an amount not to exceed $90,000. And then the fourth one is a classification and compensation study to be done on all district positions and compensation, and the amount we're requesting there is an amount not to exceed $100,000. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on any of those 4 items. And the motion is to approve the transfer of funds from OCR for the amount not to exceed $840,900, or a derivative thereof if there's something on that list that you choose not to fund.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from the public?
Thank you, Becky Steinbrenner. I was curious to see the $90,000 that will be that is being authorized to reimburse Director Jaffe for legal expenses with defending himself against an investigation, the Office of Inspector General. Can you tell me if that investigation has been completed? And if so, any information about it? I did a Public Records Act request when it was first on your board agenda to consider the issue. And I didn't get much information, not from you and not from the Office of Inspector General, mostly photographs. I was curious. $90,000 is a lot. And I'm also curious if the district considered a cost-benefit analysis of spending $100,000 on a consultant to define jobs within the district. And it would seem to me that your HR department would be very well qualified for doing that. They're good staff, and I'm a little surprised to see this expense. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no one else from the public, so now we'll bring it to the board.
Just a quick clarification on the $100,000. I think that's mainly to make sure that our wages are fair and just in comparison with other entities of similar type of employees. So
Anything else? Okay, so do we have a motion?
second,
We have a first and a second. Is this a roll call vote or it's off?
Voice vote, it's up to the board.
So all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. And Dr. Jaffe has abstained.
And all opposed?
Now that's closed. We'll go on to the next item, which is construction, development, and testing of Country Club Well Number 2, project CWO 17-0582. Accept project as complete and file a notice of
Wait
completion.
a second. We're just going to take a moment till Dr. Jaffe comes back.
Seems like we need some music or something.
Christmas music.
Okay, there's a staff presentation.
Not a very long one. This is just to recognize that the construction for the well at Country Club Well Number 2 is finished. And after the closed session discussion and decision, we're ready to request the board to file a notice of direct staff to file a notice of completion.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
Thank you, Becky Steinbruner. I've been watching the Country Club Well for quite some time since I learned it had such high levels of 123 TCP. And I remember when the district decided to just drill another well at basically the same site. There were members of the public that had concern about that. So I would be curious if you can please report what have been the levels of 123 TCP in the new well. Is it less or is it comparable to what the old well had? Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll bring it back to the board.
I don't think we have that information yet. And the plan is also to have a treatment plant if it's over a certain level so that it'll be safe.
And it's also at a different level where it's screened. As an attempt to lower the TCP.
I'll move that we accept it as complete.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against it? None. So we will move to presentation and acceptance of the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 23-24.
Great. We're going to have Leslie join us, and then we also have somebody out that's going to be connecting online.
So this evening, we're presenting our annual comprehensive financial report for the period ended June 30th, 2024. And on Zoom, we have Jonathan Foster with Davis Farr LLP, who performed the district's audit, and he will present the financial statements for you. So I'm going to pass this off to Jonathan.
Thank you,
Jonathan
Leslie.
Jarrett.
Let me start sharing.
There is a voice.
I think I would need to replace the current share for the presentation unless you wish to do so on your side of things.
Yes.
Okay. Everyone should be able to see my screen now. Just want to confirm that.
Yes.
Can,
that's great.
yes.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to present in front of the board today. My name is Jonathan Foster. I was the partner overseeing the audit engagement. I want to start out by thanking Leslie and her team. We were out there in person, performing the audit procedures, and she was ready for the audit and quite responsive to our questions. So thank you so much, Leslie. I want to start out by speaking a little bit about the reports we issued and what's included in the body of some of those reports. The first report we issue is the opinion in the basic financial statements. This is the letter that is included within the financial statements. For this year, we issued an unmodified opinion. Now, an unmodified opinion means as auditors, we did not have to make any modifications to that report, which is actually the highest level of opinion you can receive. The second report is the report on internal control over financial reporting. In this report, there were no reportable instances of noncompliance or deficiencies noted in internal control. The last letter that we issued is a summary of audit results and includes our required audit communications to the board. And it reports on items such as significant risk identified, sensitive accounting estimates, and financial statement disclosures. I've prepared a few slides to go over some important items noted within the body of these reports. The first is within the audit opinion, and the second paragraph of that audit opinion states what our opinion is. And in our opinion, the company financial statements present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of Soquel Creek Water District. And I'll speak about in some future slides what material respects means. Also included within the opinion is responsibilities of management and actually responsibilities of the auditor. I've included a excerpt of the responsibility of management of the financial statements. So in our opinion, we're explicit and we state that the district's management is responsible for the preparation, fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. And the last part is really important. And for the design, implementation, and maintenance of internal control relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. And what this does is effectively communicate that your system of internal controls is your responsibility, and the financial statements are, in fact, your financial statements. Also in the opinion are our auditor's responsibilities. In the second slide, we'll list out in bullet points each of our explicit responsibilities. The final sentence of this paragraph does communicate we consider material, and statements are considered material if there's a substantial likelihood that individually or in the aggregate, they would influence the judgment made by a reasonable user based on the financial statements. So actually what we do as auditors, we select a very small percentage of your numbers that we use as a threshold to determine materiality, because anything over that threshold may influence a judgment made by a reasonable user. The following paragraphs in the opinion communicate our additional responsibilities as part of the audit. Now, I did underline the third bullet point, and that communicates our responsibilities or the work we do over internal control. Our responsibilities are to obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the district's internal control. Accordingly, no such opinion is expressed. Now, as auditors, although we're out there in person, walking through your internal controls, we're using those to gather information, design our audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances of the audit. Now, this slide is language directly from the report on internal control provided in your packet. That first paragraph is identical to the bullet point previously mentioned by myself. The third paragraph communicates that during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control we consider to be material weaknesses. However, material weaknesses or significant deficiencies may exist that have not been identified. So we explicitly comment that we did not identify any weaknesses in internal control, although some may be present behind the scenes. Our required audit communications. Within the letter, you might have noted a section titled Significant Risk Identified. Now, as auditors, what we do is we identify a risk that we deem internally to be more significant than others. It is not the results of anything you did or anything communicated. We use some of that communication during our meetings to determine where there might lie more risk. This year, we identified risk of errors in estimating contractor invoices for accrual and capitalization. We examined the estimates and assessed the reasonableness of the amounts recorded. So we noted at the beginning of the audit that there was a contractor dispute, and although invoices weren't received by the district still needed to record these expenses and estimate a liability. So we spent some additional time reviewing some of the estimates, some of the factors that went into these estimates, such as the remaining work performed over the project, the scope of the work as part of the bid, and the dollars left over from that. We also communicated we determined to be significant accounting estimates as part of the audit. And that is because, and I've underlined within this paragraph, the possibility of future events affecting them may differ markedly from management's current judgments. Now, we've included judgments involving the estimate of the net pension liability and net OPEB liabilities. Now, this is because these liabilities, these numbers, are actually not determined directly by the district and they're not determined directly by the auditors. A third-party actuary is actually releasing these reports to the district, and we make sure that the information in the financial statements reflects these estimates that are put together by these third-party actuaries. We also communicate financial statement disclosures because of their significance to the financial statement users. We've included 3 references within this letter to the board. The first is the disclosure of investment fair value in Note 2. Within that note, there are 3 different levels of investments, and it categorizes which level your investments fall in. The disclosures of net pension in Note 8 and the disclosures of OPEB in Note 9 we considered significant to financial statement users as well. I've put together a slide, some of the areas of audit focus that as auditors we spend a significant amount of time on. The first was internal controls. Now, as I mentioned earlier, our team was out there in person, performing walkthroughs and gaining an understanding of your internal control environment. Secondly, we spend quite a bit of time over your capital assets. In addition to making sure the records are complete and accurate, we also speak with individuals outside of finance, determine the status and the nature of some of these projects that are currently under construction. So we spoke to engineers outside of finance, especially over, I think the biggest project we looked at this year was the pure water, pure water Soquel project. Pension and OPEB obligations, as I previously mentioned, we are relying on these third-party actuaries to look at the numbers that they are reporting as estimates in your financial statements. Estimated accruals. This is related to the significant risk identified before for the estimated contractor accruals for which invoices had not been received. Also, there is significant activity in your long-term liabilities, and we actually confirm 100% of debt with the third parties that hold this debt. I'd like to speak a little bit on the financial statement highlights. Comparisons from 2023 over to 2024. So you will see a significant increase in your total assets. Prior year, you were reporting approximately $252.5 million in total assets. In the current year, that has increased quite significantly to $275.9 million in your total assets. The majority of this increase is due to that line that noted capital assets not being depreciated. There's further information in Note 4. Within that line item is included your construction in progress, which includes your capital activity for the year. So these projects are directly capitalized to your statement of net position, otherwise known as your balance sheet. And for the current year, you capital project activity was up quite significantly, and the main contributor was the pure water Soquel project. Now, the deferrals you'll notice on the bottom half of the screen, OPEB outflows and pension outflows, those in this year to year not anything the district's changing as well. Those numbers are actually reported by third-party actuaries directly from CalPERS and your OPEB actuary. Following slide depicts your differences in your liabilities, deferred inflows of resources, and your changes in net position. There was a significant decrease in total liabilities as well. Now, the most significant driver of that was paying off almost $30 million, $20 million in your revolving line of credit. That, coupled with decreases in your net OPEB liability, helped decrease your liabilities from last year's reporting $112.6 million down to $87.9 million in the current year. Now, your net position, I wanted to take a moment to speak about that. Your net position has increased to $194,785,147,000. Now, the largest component of that net position is your net investment in capital assets. $182 million of this is actually assets in the ground or currently dedicated to these capital projects, including cash with fiscal agent, capital assets, and net of the debt involved with that. So $182 million of this total net position of $194 is actually not liquid and not to be used to pay your current obligations outside of these capital expenditures. So your net position for day-to-day operations is actually closer to that $12, $13 million mark. On the operating revenue side of things, you did see an increase in operating revenues due to a variety of factors. There was a rate increase that went into effect this year. And there's also a new tier structure introduced, a third tier in the billing of the rates. Now, your operating expenses as well showed an increase from $13.6 million to $15.8 million. Now, the biggest driver of the change of year is actually your OPEB expense. Anytime you adjust your OPEB liability based on the actuarial results, that requires an adjustment to your OPEB expense. Now, in the prior year, your OPEB expense had an adjustment of approximately $1.5 million, meaning your OPEB expenses needed to be decreased, in essence, a gain. So it actually lowered your overall expenses. In the current year, your adjustment to OPEB was a decrease of those expenses of $432,000. So although it appears on the face that total operating expenses of the district went up, the biggest driver of that was your adjustment to the OPEB, net OPEB liability, which the adjusting journal entry flows through this general and administrative line. And because there's such a small adjustment in the current year, those expenses actually are more in line with actual spending of the district. Total non-operating revenue prior to factoring in capital contributions was fairly consistent with the prior year. It was good news that your interest earnings helped offset some of the increased interest expense due to your debt. Capital contributions markedly increased, especially in their capital grants of $38 million in the current year. There was spending under the Title 16 Water Reclamation and Reuse Grant of approximately $30 million. So this is a large increase from the prior year, and most likely as part of your single audit. Anytime you spend more than $750,000 with a federal grant, you're required to undergo a single audit. And most likely this program will be your major program, meaning we will be performing shortly after the audit, shortly into the new year, an additional audit over this grant. So the health of the district change in net position for the year, again, was $46.2 million, bringing up that net position to $194,785,147. At this time, I'd like to open up to the questions the board may have.
Okay, so at this moment, we have any comments from the public? None? Okay. Any questions from the board?
I feel spoiled. You know, every year, like, we have the auditors say that our finance department is super well organized, has everything they need, has all the internal controls and all the ducks in a row, so to speak. So I just want to thank you and for always being so helpful with all that and trustworthy. Thanks.
Definitely. I've seen quite a few, so this is the best. Anybody else?
Yeah, I had a quick question. Jonathan, I understand what you were saying about the biggest driver of is OPEB and it's lowering the liability. But my question is that I was wondering about the long-term projections for the employee benefit costs. As I understand it, the 15% increase in expenses from 23-24 was mainly related to the other post-employment benefits, OPEB. And I'm just wondering, like, is this a one-time hit or is it a trend for the future?
It's a combination of a couple factors. When you try to trend for the future, that's something I usually encourage speaking to your actuary about, because they can help determine required contributions to fund the plan. There's two different, anytime you're dealing with these long-term liabilities, and I'll group pension and OPEB into that as well. There's different, the standard we're dealing with is actually an estimate for the liability. Now, this liability is a combination of not just what the actuary determines as your net OPEB liability. There's also a combination of deferred inflows and deferred outflows, which the accounting standards require you anytime there's changes in assumptions or differences in projected actual investment income. These actually get amortized over a number of years. So the numbers in the financial statements are reflective of a combination of factors. And I usually encourage boards or anybody in finance to not use these numbers for long-term planning independently. I mean, they can be a factor of it, depending on how much if to get 100% funded. It's very helpful for that. But there's other factors that go into play, such as consistent healthcare increases, premium increases, and they take some of these factors into effect when determining this liability. But for cash flow purposes, again, just because a liability, it really can, it needs to be run through your income statement when there's changes in your liability, changes in these deferrals that the actuary determines. So the changes in the income statement won't necessarily reflect changes in the funding needs. And a good example is that actuaries use measurement dates and valuation dates, and they're usually a year or two behind. And the accounting standards allow you to actually roll forward these dates because from reporting something on a timely manner, they just can't get all the information by June 30, 2024. So a lot of this, I believe your measurement date was June 30, 2023. So it's information obtained as of 2023 and rolled forward to this date. So these estimates many times are a year behind of your total liability, meaning if you had to pay out all these benefits at once in the future, this is what your liability would be, but that isn't necessarily going to happen. You're not going to need to pay out this large sum of money that you've recorded in your books. So from a funding projection, that's something you should definitely include your actuary with in those conversations with. If you were to look at expenses that are recorded during the year, you should use those expenses pre-adjustment for the audit. Because the expenses throughout the year actually record what you're actually paying, whether it's a combination of premiums or additional contributions to your trust, your fiduciary net position. But then at the end of the year, it has to be trued up to what this estimate of what the actuary has estimated for your future liability. So, for example, the contributions you paid out during the year, those actually get 100% backed out and shown as a deferred outflow, meaning it'll be as a reduction of your liability in future years. So although the financial statements can be a helpful planning tool, I caution you, there is, as you can see, the swings in those administrative expenses. Those swings, I mean, especially last year, the $1.5 million swing, that was just a true up a liability from the prior year to the current year. So that's why I like to communicate to the board what these biggest drivers are. So it is just one factor when you're looking at funding projections, but it should not just be used on its own to determine that your short-term funding projections or long-term for that matter. Hopefully that's helpful. There's just a lot of information that goes into these buckets.
I can give you an analogy a little bit for those type of OPEB and pension responsibilities is if you have a newborn and you decide on day one that they're going to be going to college, you don't have to have the full 4 years of college tuition up front. You've got 18 years to plan for it. That's kind of what this is we don't have to have this full liability paid up front, but we have to plan to fully fund it over a period of time. And in those 18 years, your child can decide that they want to go to an Ivy League school. Well, that's going to change your projections substantially. Or they could decide, I'm going to go to community college at 16, and that's going to change your liability expectations substantially. Plus, you're probably putting this money into some sort of fund that will earn interest over time. That's what we do. We put this money into a trust, it's set aside to fund these liabilities, and the interest we earn on that can vary wildly over a period of time as well. So all of those factors kind of come into play and can make that liability increase and decrease, and we get new employees that come on, we get employees that leave, medical premiums increase, we find different plans that are lower. There's so many different moving parts that this is always going to be a moving target.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm going to save that analogy. That is much better communication than all the factors that I just tried to communicate. That's great.
Okay, well, thank you. We need a motion for this item to accept.
Yep. I'll move that. We accept the audit
Have a
and the financial report.
My computer went to sleep. So. Okay, so if we could have a voice vote. Yeah. For this, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So this motion went unanimously.
Thank you, and thank you very much, Jonathan, for your presentation.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yes.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
And thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
For her interpretation of his presentation.
No, for just such a rock solid situation with finances at the district.
Yeah, to you and to Ryan, especially Ryan.
Yes, Ryan too.
Ryan's amazing too. Yeah, we're really lucky. Okay, let me flip to the next item. So the next item is 7.6, District Classification and Compensation Study, Ad Hoc Committee Board Representation.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one on. As we discussed earlier, the district is going to be releasing a request for proposal to conduct a compensation and classification study. As part of that RFP process, if the board is interested in participating in the ad hoc committee selection process, we need to agendize that, and you guys need to appoint up to 2 members to be participating in that. What we foresee is to have representation of different employees along with the board in the selection process. As mentioned, a compensation and classification study should be done on a periodic basis in terms of good governance and HR best management practices. So the district is going to be doing this process in 2025. Hopefully we'll be able to go through the selection process, bring a consultant online, work with them to do this study, and then wrap it up in the fall as we go into some of our negotiations with the different employee units.
Public comment on this matter? None? Okay. Any questions from the board? Comments?
Anybody interested?
I'm
a
very
question.
interested.
Yeah, I really find it interesting to go through this process, but how long does it actually take? The committee, how long would
What are you committing to?
yeah, I was just curious.
The committee for this is just to select the consultant. So we foresee that once we get the proposals in, we'll convene a meeting, review that, and go through that selection process.
I think this is crucially important to the health of our district, in that without employees that are engaged and involved and feel that they're fairly compensated, I think our district would not run anywhere near as well as it does now. So, and I'm willing to be on this committee. I don't know if other.
And Carla, you said you were interested.
I would be willing to do
And
it.
Rochelle.
Someone else.
Of course, I'm interested.
I know.
But it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, we're just trying to assess who would like to be on this. So we've got several directors that would like to be.
Jennifer, your microphone
She does
is
not.
on.
I'm willing.
You really want to do
Well, I'm interested because I've been involved in public service and been on the other end of it, and I kind of have some ideas of what to look for. But
And so you have the time to do this? I know you're.
yeah, I know. What I want and what I have time for, yeah. I think I would be a valuable addition, but if somebody else wants to do it really bad.
I foresee the time would be to read the proposals and attend a meeting with us to select.
And roughly how many meetings are we talking?
It would likely be one meeting unless we decide to do interviews. We'll leave it up to the committee to decide, yeah.
So Rochelle and Bruce?
Right, I'll move that Bruce and Rochelle act on this ad hoc committee.
And I second.
Okay, so who said it first? I think it was Jennifer. Yes. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against it? Nope. So we will move on. Now we're at, retirement resolution for
Serrano.
Serrano. Olivo.
Good evening, President Lather, board members. I'm pleased to present this, my last resolution presentation in my career, possibly. So I'm really excited to actually talk a little bit about Serrano today. He has been with the district for 16 years. He's just an amazing human being, a faithful and dedicated employee, and we have a resolution to commemorate his service to the district and to send him off on his retirement on December 30th. Would you like to read it, President Lather, or would you like me to read it?
I would like you to read it.
Okay, thank you.
I'll read the next one.
All right. So whereas Serrano was hired as a temporary operations maintenance worker in March 2008, was offered the permanent position with the district on November 4th, 2008, and has served in this capacity for his full career. And whereas Serrano is retiring from the Soquel Creek Water District, serving our staff and our community for 16 years, contributing countless working hours, beautifying our district office landscape, ensuring safe and clear groundskeeping at our off-site facilities, and supporting the operations crew. And whereas Serrano is the highest example of reliability and dependability. He rarely misses work and is always busy and diligent in his tasks, being the consummate example of admirable work ethic, and whereas Serrano takes extreme pride in creating beauty through landscaping, using his instincts and resourcefulness to add touches of color and glorious greenery in his tidy and well-planned gardening spaces, and whereas Serrano is a great help to his crew, assisting with chlorine deliveries throughout the district and ensuring our facilities are well maintained to provide safe passage in and around our tank sites, pump stations, and well sites. And whereas Serrano is a friend to all, sharing a story, a warm smile, and a wave whenever you're lucky to come in contact with him around the district. And whereas Serrano wins his manager's MVP award for submitting his time card on time and correctly. And whereas Serrano has been the key to our beautiful, welcoming, neat and clean Soquel Creek Water District office for 16 years. His positive impact on the district and on our community will be felt for many years, and his warmth and kindness will be missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Soquel Creek Water District that Serrano Olivo is hereby recognized for his dedicated service to the district, and we extend our sincere appreciation for his loyalty and years of service into a well-deserved retirement.
So, do we have any public comment on this? No? Then we're back to the board. If you have anything to say, or we can go for a motion. He couldn't make it tonight, so.
Well, we just wish him well in his retirement. Really do have appreciated the plantings around the main building. I think too bad he's not staying around for the completion of Pure Water Soquel, but it's got an inspiration for me.
Are you making the motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. I guess this is a voice vote. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, we have a,
I think it's roll.
oh, is it roll call?
Yeah.
Josh says it
Say
doesn't need
that.
to
Oh,
be.
it does, sorry.
It's technically the board's discretion whether you'd want to do a roll call on the resolution or a voice vote.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that was my discretion.
All right.
Is it done?
Yes, it's done. So we move on to the next item, which is adoption of Resolution 24-21 in appreciation of Tracy Hart, 10 years of service to the district. Do we have a presentation?
Melanie.
We don't necessarily have a presentation because we have a lovely resolution, but we would love Tracy to come up to. We are definitely on countdown with Tracy as December has come too quickly, I feel. She has been busily working away in this last month for us as we've completed some recent recruitments. She's doing some end of the year paperwork, and we are trying to squeeze everything out with Tracy. Just recently at the Employee Service Award luncheon, we were able to recognize Tracy for her 10 years of service. And at that meeting, one of the things that Tracy had mentioned to us in terms of one of her favorite things about working for the district was to be able to onboard staff and to be able to welcome them as a district employee on the first day, and to be able to greet them, show them who we are, and of course the necessary paperwork and onboarding that is required, but also to be the greeter of the district. And I feel that one of the things that is so special about the district is to make our employees feel warm and welcome, and have an inviting experience for them, and to become part of us and encourage and foster that culture. We have always, I think, and with Tracy's guidance, really taken to heart hiring staff and hiring good people at the district. And I think Tracy, as our very first HR manager here at the district, has really held that to high regard over the last 10 years. So we will miss you. And we do have some photos we're going to put up as Rochelle reads the resolution.
Okay, I think I have to have opportunity for public comment. Did you have anything to say? Okay. So then,
Wait, hold on, let me get this.
Yeah, let's get this set up.
This computer is acting so slow.
Well, I could just start off with the title and.
Okay.
Read slowly.
Yeah. Resolution of the Board of Directors of the Soquel Creek Water District in appreciation of Tracy Hart upon her retirement, April 28th, 2014 to December 30th, 2024. The Board of Directors of the Soquel Creek Water District at its December 17th, 2024 meeting made the following findings. Whereas Tracy was hired by the district on April 28, 2014, and has directly served our customers as the human resources manager for her entire tenure at the district. And whereas Tracy is retiring from the Soquel Creek Water District, serving the public in our community for 10 years with her unwavering dedication, professionalism, and support. And whereas Tracy has demonstrated exceptional leadership and commitment to fostering a positive workplace culture, ensuring the well-being and growth of district employees, and whereas Tracy's diligent efforts in managing recruitment, employee development, and retention have strengthened the district's ability to achieve its mission of providing a safe, high-quality, reliable, and sustainable water supply to meet our community's present and future needs in an environmentally sensitive and economically responsible manner. And whereas Tracy has been instrumental in the implementation and enhancement of key human resources policies, ensuring compliance with labor laws and promoting equity and inclusion in the workplace. And whereas Tracy played a pivotal role in encouraging staff to take professional development programs, which has empowered employees to reach their full potential and enhanced the district's overall performance. Sorry, I had to take a breath. And whereas Tracy's tireless dedication to employee advocacy and her open door approach in the HR trailer has created a culture of trust and mutual respect, benefiting both employees and the district. And whereas Tracy's legacy is a compassionate, knowledgeable, and effective leader in public service, will leave a lasting impact on the district and the broader community it serves. And whereas Tracy provided invaluable support to retirees by assisting them in navigating their benefits with care, patience, and expertise, ensuring they felt valued and well-informed as they transitioned into retirement and or needed to make adjustments to their retiree benefits. Whereas Tracy guided the district through the unprecedented global COVID-19 pandemic by effectively communicating ever-changing restrictions to staff and the board, and providing all with strong and caring leadership, as well as resources and support to help navigate. And whereas Tracy may have loved the Los Angeles Dodgers, we never held that completely against her. And whereas Tracy played a vital role in organizing the district's Employee Service Awards, creating memorable and meaningful celebrations that honored employees' dedication and achievements, and fostering a sense of pride and appreciation among staff. And whereas Tracy's love of fashion will be missed, as she always looked both professional and stylish while rocking her thrift shop finds. And whereas Tracy demonstrated her true orange color with her characteristics of creativity, independence, direct communication, spontaneity, problem solving, and action-oriented mindset. And whereas Tracy's positivity, vibrant energy, and contagious laugh will be dearly missed. And whereas Tracy inspired many with her adventurous solo travels, which included hiking 100 miles on the coast of England just 1 year after breaking her ankle. And Tracy served as the welcoming face of the district, warmly greeting new employees and board members on their first day and providing them with an overview and orientation that set the tone for a positive and successful career at the district. And now Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Soquel Creek Water District that Tracy Hart is hereby recognized for her 10 years and her overall dedicated career that includes your boundless contributions to the district. And we all join in extending our sincere appreciation for her loyalty, professionalism, and years of service as we wish her a well-deserved retirement. Do I say the rest? Passed and adopted? Okay.
We're going to vote. Now you can vote.
So, any comments?
Can I say something?
Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate those words. That was the longest one I think ever.
I needed a sip of water.
Thank you, board. I know when I mentioned that I was thinking about retiring back in the summer, letting you know that I was looking at December as my end date. I mentioned in my letter that this truly is the best board that I've ever had the good fortune to work with. I've worked with a lot of school boards in my prior school career, and I have to say, you know, it really is a joy and a pleasure to work with you and closely with you on many of the issues that we've worked on over the years. And I've just have so much appreciation and gratitude for that experience. I started my career in human resources in 1989, working for the Federal Bureau of Reclamation as a student worker and the Human Resources Office. And I get to end my human resources career in water with a fabulous group of people. And I couldn't be more grateful. So thank you for the kind words.
Yes, please.
Well, just you basically created our human resources department, and so that's going to continue on, and I hope it remains as warm and helpful and thoughtful and just efficient as you made it. So you set us off on the right foot. Thank you very much.
I would just like to say too, I really do appreciate you're really effective. I got to experience the welcome into the Soquel Creek Water District. You were one of the first people that I talked to, and I just really helped me not be overwhelmed. So I really appreciate it. I've watched over the last 10 years, our time in the district is just about the same. And just your effective and professionalism is really apparent to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy, and we wish you so much luck in your future endeavors.
Yes.
You may be seated.
I'm gonna move approval of the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. I guess I'll do the roll call vote this time. Can roll call vote, please?
Director Balboni.
Aye.
Vice President LaHue.
Aye.
Director Jaffe. Director Christensen.
Aye.
And President Lather.
Aye. So the motion passes. And now we're to item 4.4, management update. Yes, I did. No, we do. Do you have a presentation, or do we do public comment?
We don't have a.
Okay, so then yes. You're the public comment police for the day. Do we have public comment? I don't want you to. Okay, I wasn't talking to you, Becky.
On. There we go. Becky Steinbrunner. I had noted on page 69 that the district got an extension from the state on a grant for the Pure Water Soquel project to have it be completed to extended to December 31st of 2025. This reminds me that in the early years of this project, former General Manager Ron Duncan stood up and told a judge that if the project were not finished by, I think it was 2020, February, you'd have to give the money back. That influenced the judge a lot. And I am glad that you were able to get an extension, because it's certainly taken a lot longer than 2020 to get that project done. My notes are a little hard to read right now, but I believe that in this report, it also included the aesthetic screening of the Pure Water Soquel. And I do hope that that receives a good treatment. It really does deserve it. In item 4.4, I also see the word change of orders to that effect for the landscape design to accommodate the pedestrian overcross there that comes in by the plant, and that is going to cost $12,661. So that's a lot of money. Thank you.
Turn it on. Thank you. So, am I supposed to ask a question? Do I need to ask a question? Okay. I pulled it because I wanted to have staff do a presentation for Bruce Jaffe to thank him for being president. I keep looking at her.
I'm so sorry. Yes, thank you. I had asked that and it just blew out of my mind. Thank you. As part of the management update, we did want to acknowledge President Jaffe, your year of service as the board president. We did really appreciate your leadership this year and, of course, all your years of service that you've served on the board this year in particular as president. So we just wanted to acknowledge tonight and kind of wrap up the meeting as we have done the formal switch over to say thank you.
So thank you, Bruce, even if I did give you a hard time just a minute ago.
I'm never going to.
By the way, which knee is your bad knee?
Comment.
So I kicked the right one.
Both.
Anybody else?
Thank you for the acknowledgement, and really, Tom and Rochelle and Carla, and at some point in the future, I'm sure Jennifer also will be president, and serving as president. Really, I understood more what's involved. There's a lot involved. The president's very involved, and so so thank you for thanking me on this.
Okay, there's no motion required. So we will adjourn the meeting. It sounded like a question, but did I forget? There's no motion.
Oh, okay. All right.
You had me almost fooled there. Okay, so the
Thank
meeting's
you.
adjourned.